We are in day 55 in Leviticus 15. And when I started studying this, I'm like, oh man, really? I have to teach on this? But here we go, because God did not leave out any details in the Word of God. And once again, this chapter is teaching us about cleansing our bodies for purity and God controlling the spreading of germs and disease. And this particular chapter deals with bodily emissions. So let's go for it, okay? Whoever said the Bible was G-rated, right? There's murder, there's incest, there's adultery, you name it, because we're all human and everybody deals with it in some form. Everybody falls short of the glory of God. There's crazy people in this world that make bad choices. So God has to deal with everything. So here we are. So in Leviticus 15, it deals with two different kinds of discharge. One of them is a running discharge, assuming it's semen, and it's an unusual bodily discharge where it's not just during intercourse, but at other times. The second one is the emission of semen, which is during intercourse, and God tells us how to deal with our bodies then. And then the third one is the monthly period of a woman, the menstrual cycle. And the other one was the issue of blood. And you remember the woman in the New Testament that says for 12 years she had an emission of blood. It was not a normal period. It would not stop. She couldn't control it. And you can imagine, it says she spent everything she had to try to get healed through doctors, and none of it worked. And she said, if I could just touch the cloak of Jesus, then I would be healed. And that's exactly what happened. And that gets down to faith, like we talked about yesterday. It's all about if we choose to believe that Jesus is capable. So in these two groups, there is a type of disease or malfunction, not the normal period, not intercourse, but emissions that wouldn't stop, and also periods that wouldn't stop. So basically what God was teaching them is if it's regular periods, they went out for 7 days, it was considered a period of uncleanliness. Then they would wash themselves ceremonially, and they would be able to come and live their normal lives the other 3 weeks of the month. With men and women, if they had sexual relations, they had to cleanse themselves and purify themselves for a day, then they could come back in. But if it was a continual disease thing, they had to separate themselves and they had to do special ceremonial cleansing. And then they'd have to come back and make that sacrifice. And again, Jesus is that sacrifice, which is so beautiful. He did that so we can just ask him to heal us. He's faithful. He wants us healed. Don't we want our children healed? How much more does God want us supernaturally healed? Because his love is unconditional. We can't even understand that as humans. So we dealt with the emissions, and I'll see you tomorrow. We are in Mark 7. And once again, the Pharisees and religious leaders are giving Jesus, pardon the pun, giving him hell. Why are you not following the age-old traditions? Why are you not washing your hands and doing all the cleansing and the purification like you're supposed to do? And here's what Jesus says. It's like, boom. Here's what he says. It says, they eat first, performing the hand-washing ceremony. Jesus replied, you hypocrites. Isaiah was right when he prophesied about you, for he wrote, these people honor me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. Their worship is a farce, for they teach man-made ideas as commands from God. For you ignore God's law and substitute your own tradition. And then Jesus says, he called out to the crowd to come and hear. And here are Jesus' words. All of you listen, he said, and try to understand. It is not what goes into your body that defiles you. You are defiled by what comes out of your heart. And then he moved down to say, it is what comes from the inside that defiles you. For from within, out of a person's heart come, are you ready for this? Evil thoughts, sexual immorality, theft, murder, adultery, greed, wickedness, deceit, lustful desires, envy, slander, pride, and foolishness. And Jesus says, all, the ones I read out, and these were Jesus's words, all these things, these vile things, come from within, and that is what defiles you. Wow. So here they are doing these tiny little age-old traditions, as they called it, yet they were living sinful lives and denied Jesus as the Messiah. So you can go back and list these things. I would highly recommend write them down, because if Jesus says, that's a no-no, don't go there, I think we should listen. We are continuing in Psalm 40, which is a Psalm of David, and we spoke yesterday about he had no fear of man as king. People, expect the king to be all formal and pomp and circumstance. Oh no, David knew and loved God, and he would go out and worship the Lord in the streets, taking off his kingly robes. And he truly had the joy of the Lord. And this was my takeaway today. It says, but may all who search for you be filled with joy and gladness in you. May those who love your salvation repeatedly shout, the Lord is great. Ah, love that. Then in Proverbs 10, it says, wise words come from the lips of people with understanding, but those lacking sense will be beaten with a rod. We may not be beaten physically, but we will be beaten down if we do not have the knowledge of the Lord and wise words. We talked about earlier the importance. God kept saying, get wisdom, get understanding. It's like a garland around your neck. It's more precious than silver and gold. And it says, wise people treasure knowledge, but the babbling of a fool invites disaster. And the way you get rid of foolishness is by replacing that ignorance, folly, with the wise words of God. And that's what we're doing here every single day. For maximum 15 minutes a day, we get to learn about God. Thank you for joining with me.